My name is Jim Bacon. I published a blog called Bacon's Rebellion. We write about public policy issues in the state of Virginia with a heavy emphasis on transportation land use, which obviously takes us into this smart growth arena. I've been following these topics, journalistically speaking, for probably 20 years. I was editor of Virginia Business Magazine, and we wrote a lot about growth and development issues. And I gravitated towards the smart growth people because, to me, they seem to make an awful lot of sense. I came to it from the perspective of a pro-business perspective, and maybe a pro-business and a free market perspective. I guess I call myself a Republican-leaning independent. I'm very interested in the fiscal issues, and one of my goals in life is I like to keep taxes low. I was really concerned about the costs of growth, and Virginia at the time, when I first started getting into it in the 1980s, was just, particularly Northern Virginia, was just booming. It was just exploding, and no one knew how to handle it. It was just the traffic congestion was getting worse and worse, the cost of providing infrastructure, and it just seemed so obvious that when you smear out growth over a large, huge landmass, that it's going to be far more expensive to build the roads and extend the water and sewer and the cable lines and the electricity and the schools and provide the public services like fire and rescue, which you need a certain amount of response times. All those things it became so much more expensive. So that was my first thing, was I would kind of like, oh, what we're doing now, the sprawl business, just isn't working. So then when you go into, well, who's got an alternative to the sprawl? It was the smart growth people. Smart growth advocates more compact development. So it's much more efficient to provide government services and infrastructure and utilities than when you spread it out over a large area. So many of the costs we have at the level of state and local government are generated by are location dependent, and they vary according to the density of land use. To me, it's pretty darn clear that smart growth is a much more efficient way of building infrastructure. At the same time, I believe in freedom, I believe in liberty. I don't believe that people ought to be coerced into smart growth, but what we ought to do is certainly make it easier for people to build in that way, should they choose to do so. And unfortunately, too many zoning codes really prevent them from doing that. We have zoning ordinances that mandate the separation of land uses, so residential here, commercial there, offices over there, which means no matter what, you cannot possibly walk from location to location. You have to hop in your car, you have to drive. You drive virtually everywhere for all your destinations. Then you have all sorts of other regulations, parking lot requirements. So people are required by ordinance to build these huge parking lots around all their commercial structures, and then by doing that you spread everything out even more. You make walkability even more impossible. So we have literally, through our system of laws and ordinances, have just basically outlawed any form of development that would create a walkable community, which is what most people actually want. We're experiencing kind of a transportation renaissance after having kind of been stuck in the old mode of we have cars and we have mass transit bus and heavy rail, and that's kind of pretty much it. Now we're having just this efflorescence of new kind of alternatives. And so, but still, what you want to do is they work best when all the things or locations are in fairly close proximity to one another. And so by doing that, you don't have to invest as much in roads. Smart growth is really important in a couple of ways. First, insofar as you want to be competitive in attracting and recruiting and retaining the kind of educated young workers who form the core, particularly the educated workers, the ones with skills, who form the core of your kind of innovative and creative workforce. They like living in certain kinds of environments. They like living in smart growth-like communities. And so you want to attract those kind of people and you want to keep them there, then you want to have those kind of communities for them to live and play in. There are certain patterns of human settlement patterns that lend themselves more to creativity and innovation than others. To take one extreme, If you have a company out in a suburban office park that's sitting out there isolated all by itself, and everyone eats in a company cafeteria, and if they want to go anywhere, interact with anyone, they have to get in a car and drive a long distance to get there. That's not going to lead to the kind of interaction it takes to be successful in a knowledge economy. The whole economics of economic development are changing. It's in a knowledge economy, it's all about interactivity. People getting together, chance meetings, chance encounters, or not even just chance ones, just the ease of interaction and exchanging ideas. And if you're stuck in a suburban office park somewhere, you're not exchanging any ideas with anybody except for maybe someone inside your complex, where there's kind of a mid-level layer of density and size of buildings and vitality of street life and restaurants and coffee shops and all those kinds of public places where people like to go and interact and talk to one another. And the art is going to be to find that right combination. And as we enter a kind of a knowledge economy, if we create those kinds of places, we can literally stimulate more creativity and more innovation. This is really crucial for anyone who's concerned about the economic vitality of their communities to be thinking about.